When we first met Swahib Mohammed Swahib in prison, he was serving out the last days of his 18-year-long sentence for robbery with violence. Football has been a healing balm for the isolation and loneliness of prison life. It's a passion he kicked up and hoped to build on before his life took a drastic turn for the worst. It's now 2 years since he stepped out from behind bars, a freshly minted symbol of second chances. Eager to pick up the pieces of his broken life, eager to start over.
1 meter distance.
But he will soon realize the sentence never really ends. The transition was anything but smooth.
Sasa cleanliness.
He was condemned to a life behind invisible bars that barred him from reaching out for his dreams. It's a difficult road back, but he makes the most of it, using his spare time to raise awareness on the downside to engaging in crime.
Crime does not pay. Hakuna Nobel, ama prize, ama kikombe utaitwa umeiba sana, ama umepora watu sana. Of which imeni cause miaka 18 nikiwa ndani ya gereza, tena gereza kubwa la Kamiti. Na nimetoka, nimepata mabadiliko makubwa. Mamangu unaona nilimwacha akiwa kasichana, sasa hivi unaona anaelekea kuitwa nyanya, ashaitwa hata ana wajukuu kadhaa. Of which ni hasara kwangu pia.
Nilifurahi mpaka hata nikulia nililia, hata sikuweza kutabasamu, nikulia nililia, ni furaha. Nilisikia raha sana kuona mtoto wangu ako uhuru. Na nikashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu, na nikajua Mwenyezi Mungu ana uwezo. Amewasomesha ukaa chini, anawaambia wewe kuchukua kitu ya mtu si vizuri. Soma na mimi, hiyo miaka 18 nimekaa huko, unaona nimekuja na nini, kuchukua simu ya mtu, kupiga mtu ngeta, kufanya utututu mambo tu. Crime si nzuri, crime si poa.
But the road to redemption has more bumps and sharp bends than he had imagined. Without means of earning a living, he was forced to move back into his mother's house.
Mimi na mama yangu sasa tunakazana, of which maisha ni ngumu. Unaona mtu kama mimi nikitoka 18 good years nimekuja hapa, I'm like a luggage to my mom. Mamangu si ati ameajiriwa mahali ati anapewa mamilioni ama anapata nini. Yeye mwenyewe anajikimu, anafanya kwa Thika Municipal Council. Of which ni mzigo tu nilikuwa namletea hata hiyo miaka 18. Ajifunge na masabuni aniletee, ajifunge na 500 aniletee niandikie maziwa. Of which unapata kama ulifanya crime ya 2000 unaleta loss ya 100,000.
Alipotoka amekaa hapa nyumbani, ndio ninamshughulikia kula, namshughulikia kile atavaa. Kama mtoto wangu ajilisiezi muachilia, ni mtoto wangu ni mimi nazaa.
It has been a torturous journey towards finding himself. Now he's finally free of a life that had pulled and tugged at him for years. But the journey ahead is just as hard, but still he carries on.
Sasa hivi na miaka 34, na of which identity sina. Niliingia nikiwa mchanga sana Kamiti. I was underage, lakini nyakati ile wako wanafuatilia hiyo. Nikaeko hapo for 18 good years. Now I'm outside. I don't have the identity card. I don't have a good conduct. Of which mimi mzaliwa. Nimezaliwa hapa Thika, mamangu hapa. I must have an ID so that I can push myself. Mimi sasa nafaa kuwa na bibi. Nafaa kuwa na kwangu. Nafaa kuwa na watoto wangu. Of which sitaangalia ile iliyopita ni ndwele. Lakini sasa tuangalie haya yajayo. Of which serikali lazima ituangalie. Lazima itupatie hizi opportunity. Unaweza ona sija change, but change start with me. Nikisema kwa roho yangu it is over, it is over.
His efforts to make something of his broken life amounted to nothing.
Sija employiwa mahali. Hakuna mahali mimi huenda ati ni kujituma tu vibarua tuleta watu wanakujua. Kuja ufanya hii hapa nitakupa 200, kuja ufanya hii hapa nitakupa 500. Na hiyo pia ni nadra, hautaitwa kila siku. Nilikuwa nasoma mindful leadership, nika graduate, I have the certificate. Nikaingia kwa comedy, I have a certificate of which nilipewa na chipukizi. Mimi nilikuwa nafuatilia sport, nikaingia coaching, nikachukua coaching course certificate ya KFF, I have it. But now, hizi vitu zote ni bure. Without an ID card, without a good contact, you cannot get a job to someone. Hauwezi. Na siko ubaya yao. Hivyo ndio kunafaa kuwe ndio uandikwa kazi. Sa mtu kama mimi, hapa kule tu.
It's a struggle that Peter Kimanthi knows all too well. He was only 11 years old when he ran afoul of the law and got acquainted with the criminal justice system. His life changed drastically after the death of his only caregiver, his grandmother.
I was 10. So hakuna mtu nyumbani ningekaa na yeye. Ni uncle zangu na wale watu ungefikia ungeenda kwa wao kusaidie, wakaku neglect in that way that ungeenda kwa ufukuze. Na nikaona the only way ile ninge survive ni kutoka huko ni kuje tafuta place kama town. Sababu nilikuwa nasikia kuna watu wengine wetu wanakaa Nairobi. Na I walked from Makueni hadi Machakos. Siku mbili. So wakati ndifika huko ile kitu ilikuanga ya kwanza nikaingia kwa street. Kwenye nilala that night. Nikalala na watchman, nikapata na watchman akanisaidia, nikamwelezea story yangu na akanisaidia. Na the following day I opted that nirudi nyumbani. Nikamwambia kwangu hiyo haingekuwa option ya kurudi nyumbani. So I had to find a way ni ya kuishi. Sababu nyumbani hakuna place ningeenda.
It took some time before he could adjust to the new reality, but he did.
Nikapatana na vijana wa town. Mistreatment ya kwanza ile kukua ni kama bold. Wanakubol maswali, umetoka wapi, kama we ni spy. Unakuja kujua kwenye mashimo zile wanakaa ndo wapeleke kwa makarao. With time wakaget used na mimi sababu walikuwa na kwa sport. So wakaanza kuwa wananikaribisha ina informal sababu lazima uvute bangi. That's what the introduction kwa street. Uyo glue ama wabebe ndio wajue ndio kama wewe umewaseti upate wewe ndio umejiseti kwa makarao.
Down the rabbit hole he went. From living rough, he quickly and easily transitioned into a life of crime, a line he never thought he would cross.
Ukapata aso za street unaezana nazo, kupickpocket wase, kunini kitu kama msee ameshika. Na ikafika place sasa ikakuwa Machakos was not my street sababu you feel umemaliza primary school ya street life. So,
taking a step forward and further down the stray path, he found himself in the big city, Nairobi. He thought offered better prospects than what he had been accustomed to. He settled around Muthurwa and soon found his way around the city.
Nikajua there's another way of hustling bila kusumbua, bila kuibia wase. Ile saa ungeokota ma plastic, unaenda unauza, unapata kibarua ya kubeba your stuff kutoka kwa wase hapo, unapeleka mahali fulani, unapewa mbao.
But an operation to rehabilitate street children in 2003, though well-meaning, may just have been the start of his troubles. Authorities tried to get in touch with his family but couldn't trace them. He was bounced off from one police station to another, often shuttling between Nairobi and Machakos. Until one day, police tricked him into admitting to a crime he says he didn't commit. The murder of a fellow street urchin.
Rastamende alishutiwa na polisi. Tukua pamoja. Tuliamka asubuhi ile tumeenda hustle za kuokota hizo ma plastic mwende muuze na just finding a way to survive. Tukapatananga na polisi. Na ilikuwa in between railways na Marikiti. Akanishuti yangu hapo. The following day aikakujanga kwa news. Sasa adhabu alishutiwa ina gunshot shootout with the police. Na huyu msee mnajua mlela na yeye, mmeamka asubuhi mko hasa zenu. People advice for inmates. Wakaniambia wasie buda ukikubali hiyo story ya kumada, hii utapelekwa place mbaya sana. Polisi anakuambia ukubali utaenda kusaidiwa. Now without innocence you want a better life. So una comply na hiyo unaenda kwa court, nikaandikwa mashtaka, nikaenda kotini Machakos, nikakubali makosa yangu.
That innocent, desperate move changed his life forever. He found himself incarcerated at just the tender age of 11.
Sasa tunaingia Shimulatewa, mnakaribishwa na unakupigwa. Kuna wasi tulipiangwa wakakufa. Tukikuja kotini, in the waiting rooms tulikuwa tunakaa na hao watu wakubwa. There was no separation. Na then ikafikanga place, sasa mimi nikachinjwa cell. Nikaekangwa cell ilikuanga kwa stairs place. Na hiyo cell ilikuwa ni kama ndio the pathway ya maji. Sasa maji ikitoka kukinyesha, maji ikitoka huko juu inashuka inapita kwa hiyo room. Kwenye mlikuwa mnaenda choo. Ni bucket kubwa kama hii. Iko somewhere kwa kona mahali. Ilikuwa imejaa. Ilikuwa na overflow na with those white stuff, maggots unajua kukiwa wet zinapanda kwa ukuta. Lakini that was life ule subjected to na una choice. Na nikakaa hapo seme kama 1.5 years from 2002 to 2007. Okay, umelose time mob. Na after hizo polisi sasa Ushimalatewa ndio wakati tulifikanga huko umeambiwa unaenda kusoma, then unapata whatever you expected is far different from ile ulikuwa umeambiwa. Na with no choice inabidi una persevere your stuff, your life.
Kimanthi later escaped from prison. A children's officer in Machakos helped him get into a children's home in the same county. Here, he got an opportunity to complete his basic education and even pursued a course in film production. Though he graduated and is skilled, he can only put his skills to work as a media volunteer in a church. His past has made it that much harder for him to secure better opportunities.
I've had many opportunities to get better jobs. With the UN, nilikuwa nimepata a UN job ya driver. Nikaambiwa I submit a good contact. I applied for that. I tried to explain to them. They do nikawajaribu kwa then that's when I went to the police to the DCI. Nikawaambia nimepata hii job na this is serious opportunity for me, maybe a lifetime stuff. And if I lose this, then wakaniambia I wasn't saying. The kind of wanakuambia wanakutishia utakutana ndani. You are so much disabled. You are umekuwa stubborn sana. Na niende mara mbili. So nikaona so I let it go. Then I had to give up mambo ya ku apply your document. So you wait for the good people who really believe in you.
For this group of women, their circumstances and time served at the Langata Women Maximum Prison brought them even closer. Dealt a bad hand by life, they now often check on each other and help each other shoulder life's burden. Teresa Njoroge heads this support group dubbed Clean Start. The idea was born of the reflections from her time in prison. She served for a year for handling a fraudulent transaction.
It was almost 10 million. It was 9.9 million Kenya shillings. Quite some amount of money for someone to lose. And even though I knew very well that I hadn't stolen that money, while I was in prison, it hurt, yes, but it was listening to the stories of the other women that even hurt more.
Her time in prison opened her eyes to the struggles that those who go through the country's flawed criminal justice system face.
The women I was interacting with first did not even have legal representation when they got arrested. Most of them were poor, who didn't have good education backgrounds. Some were illiterate. Others, they just didn't have economic opportunities. You listen to a woman's story and you think to yourself, you don't deserve to be in prison. You need to be empowered. Some were arrested hawking. Whatever, for most of them, whatever had brought them into prison, you can tell it's the lack of opportunities because it was mostly petty survival crimes.
Teresa served time with her 3-month-old baby, and every day behind bars with her child tested her resolve.
Prison breaks you. Prison takes away your esteem. Anything you ever had built is taken away. Shame, that embarrassment, the conditions you live in. It's a really difficult place. How you're even treated, how you're talked to. You know, you don't wake up and decide today I'm going to do X, Y, Z to better myself. You wake up at a time when you're told this is the time you wake up. This is the work you're going to do. You don't even use your mind. The schedule is already made for you. And then guards are all over, watching over you. You cannot even, moving from one place to another, you've got to ask, Madam, naweza nikaenda, you know, you even stop using your mind. It alters your DNA. Your worth is taken away from you.
While life behind bars was difficult for her, it was much more for her little one.
In prison, fast water is a luxury. You don't have all the time to birth your child and take care of your child. It's a tough situation. I saw so many mothers put water in water bottles. Not the water bottles, the bottles, you know, you look for bottles, you put some water, and then you put it on roofs, hoping it will warm for you to wipe your child. And that's the life we lived. If it's food, it's not like you're getting your portion of daily fruits or milk, and you know how we raise our children well. If well-wishers didn't bring the fruits or green grams and things like those, your child will eat from your portion. And it's not like prison food is a delicacy. So it's really tough for children who accompany their mothers to prison.
And it's not just the food that is bad for the children, but also the culture within the prison walls.
The language that they get to hear there. Thank you, please. Those are foreign words. They know words like nitakuua, you know, I'll kill you, I'll beat you. Vulgar language. It's depressing to see a small little child grow up to that, and that's what they know. I'm grateful that my child learned her first words when she was on the outside, but I bleed all the time remembering all the children who are 4, 5 years old and the words I could hear them talk about in there. It hurts.
While she was close to her child, for other incarcerated mothers, it was hard not knowing the whereabouts or well-being of their children.
If there's something that depresses and distresses women in prison, it's their children. Where are my children? How are they doing? And when you get reports, they're not good reports. Because remember, most of them come from very poor, marginalized backgrounds. So it's not like they left their children with a sister or their children with... No, they left those children on their own. And maybe they were picked up by a neighbor or they hit the streets.
Nikafungwa Lang'ata miaka mitano, nikakaa remand miaka mitatu na nikafungwa miaka miwili prison. So yote ikakuwa 5 good years. Lakini nilivyotoka nikapata mtoto wangu mmoja ameteseka, amekonda, amekaa maisha mbaya, lakini Mungu akatusaidia tena, mahali tumetoka ni mbali. Na vijana wameendelea tu sasa kugrow na wako tu sawa.
Nimekaa many years, 11 good years. Kama huyu kijana wangu alikuwa hapa mrefu, nilimwacha akiwa 2 years. Nimekuja nimempata ako form 2. Sasa unaona, sasa nilijua tu hiyo rejection lazima ikue.
You think that having been through with the sentence was the toughest thing you've endured, and you're so happy that you're done with that part. And when the gates open, you're so excited to start life again. But you find such an unforgiving society that brands you an ex-con, brands you a criminal. No second chance. And if you can feel your heart is still beating, you're still alive. You need to build yourself up again. But the society is not offering that to you. You can't get a certificate of good conduct, no matter how good you now are, rehabilitated and ready to live life afresh. You can't get that. You can't get jobs. It's really difficult.
Kuna kazi nilikuwa nimeapply, sasa wakaniambia good conduct inatakikana. Sasa good conduct mikono zangu haziwezi, not unless ni haribu ama ulipe huko wakuharibie. Sio rahisi kupata.
Uharibu kivipi?
Okay.
Unajua mtu amejaribu kuharibu?
Yes, kuna mtu aliniambia tu alitoka ndani, sijui mkono alikatakata ama alifanya nini. Sasa haikupatana na ile ya crime. Juu sasa hizi fingers zangu kama zimechukuliwa nikienda huko siwezi pewa.
With formal employment out of reach, they try their luck in business, which also has its fair share of challenges.
First time when nilitoka nilifungua hoteli. Hoteli nikaendelea haikunipeleka poa. Alafu kuna my sister mwenye anasomesha hao watoto wangu. Niko na vijana wawili by the way. Sasa huyu my sister akanifungulia exhibition. Sasa hii harakati ya kazi kuendelea na hii kazi ilikuwa imepik vizuri, ndio nikagonjeka nikaadmitiwa.
Many of those who found themselves on the wrong side of the law and who have been through correctional programs often find it hard to reintegrate into society, to find their footing and to make a decent life for themselves. And as such, it's easy to slide back into the darkness and back in prison.
I went through a very difficult time that landed me in debt. Fortunately, the person who I owed money decided to take me to court, and that is how come I landed into prison. If they are not able to earn or fend for their children, I assure you they go back into the system. And if they don't have a support system that is stable around them, they look for other ways to put food on their table for their children.
Teresa's organization provides a safety net for those who have served time and have turned their lives around, offering a supportive shoulder once they step back into the community.
As a first-time mom, the first year of my daughter's life, we were at Lang'ata Women Maximum Prison. And that's the beginning of her journey, unfortunately. However, I have said to myself, I'll do the best that I can for her to heal and to understand that it was an injustice. And I'm glad that she can see the efforts I'm putting in to right that wrong. Because I remember when we left prison, my daughter couldn't take a bath in the bathtub. You couldn't just put her in water. She had never, ever seen so much water. And I had to teach her in her second and third year of enjoying a bath through the work that we do, show her photos, tell her stories, for her to get to understand why this journey.
Mary Khayemba, who serves as the Director of Rehabilitation at the Kenya Prison Service, admits that the country's correctional service may not be ideal, but the officials are trying their best.
If they can develop halfway houses where people can go, being held for a short while, as they look for their way out, that will be lovely. It will reduce reoffending among the inmates, which is our priority, because we would like as many people to settle in the community as much as possible.
She says the society has a role to play in embracing those who have served prison sentences.
If there are people who need help, if there are people who need to be supported, if there are people who need to be held their hands and just settle in the community, are the people who have been in prison for a long time. They are really harmless. They have gone through the experience. They have learned a lot. They could be models. They could be the people of the outside there who could go outside there and tell people life can change.
She faults the criminal justice system for fingerprinting underage suspects as it dents their prospects of making a better life for themselves once reformed.
Let him get a letter from prison, a recommendation letter, just to wherever, to show that he was jailed on this day and he was underage.
She also believes the government ought to review its policy on giving out certificates of good conduct to show faith in the correctional aspects of prison life.
Can something be done? Because actually this is a bar. It really denies many inmates an opportunity to progress. And right now, everywhere you go, certificate of good conduct. Wherever you go, certificate of good conduct. They come here and they tell me, madam, now what do? We can't get certificate of good conduct. We have been outside there for 10 years. We have not reoffended. Can the government take a stand and say, when an inmate has done a mistake for this number, committed an offense, but he's been out for like 5 years at most, can he be accepted? And then the crimes, whatever, are removed.
Until that is achieved, Swahib, Kimanthi and the Clean Start women will unfortunately remain confined to the dictates of a society that is less than welcoming to ex-convicts. The road to rebuilding their lives has not been easy. The experiences do not just serve as a lesson to those who may be flirting with crime, but also as a rallying call to government that justice ought to be done and to be seen to be done. They say they only need just a little bit of help if they are to live a crime-free life. Charity Mwangi, NTV.